that's going to change, what has to change?
Trusting eye discipline, trusting your technique, running off the ball. That's been a point that's been addressed. I think that's pretty well known. You know the level of execution and the level of play and the play calling starts with me. You know, it's got to be better, and it will be better. Like I said, it's been addressed throughout the week.
How would you assess the physicality and knockback from your offensive line through 5 games?
It can always be better. I mean, I don't think that's ever going to be good enough. You know, I think whether we run the ball for 50 yards or we run the ball for 300, I think we're always going to find that in our offensive line and our tight ends. Same thing in our running with our running backs. Like, I think if you're going to have any successful running game, it's got to start with how physical you are at the point of attack. And when we have positive runs, I think we're pretty physical. When we have negative runs, I don't think we're very physical. And I think that's as easy as I can say it. I also think that like we have to continue to, like I said, with the short yardage piece, we have to trust what we see and run off the football. If we do that, we'll execute. We'll play better up front.
How would you assess how Drake came out of the game with
Yeah.
a learning experience?
Oh, I mean, invaluable. Every experience he gets, every snap he takes, it's an experience. I think that's one thing that I know Coach Fleck and him talk about a lot. I know I have constant conversations with him about playing every single situation, whether it's first play of the game, middle of the game, end of the game, any situation. Just a 2-minute situation isn't just the only situation that comes up, or a third down or anything like that. I mean, it could be second and off schedule. It could be second and short. I think we constantly talk about that. I think the biggest growth moment he had throughout the Ohio State game is the one that goes unnoticed, and that's his leadership on the sideline. I think that's one of the most challenging things that goes unnoticed with a quarterback is when you are struggling and when you're not scoring points or when you're up against an opponent that's playing at a very high level. I think that's the hardest thing. And I think between Coach Fleck, myself, and Keegan O'Hara, that's the thing that we continued to harp on him with coming out of the Cal game was his leadership. And I think that's where you'll continue to see him grow, and we want to expand on that because I think, you know, as he continues to play and get better, the play on the field is going to continue to have its ups and downs as any young quarterback. Any quarterback's going to have ups and downs. We want to continue to stay on this trajectory, but the one thing that's got to be the constant with him, good or bad, is got to be his leadership, and that's what I loved about the Ohio State game with him.
Kind of on the numbers when the defense is coming out.
Yep.
As an example.
Yep.
What are the things that you're looking for?
Oh, just when we take the field, understanding he goes into the short yardage. I've been on him all week. When he steps into the huddle on short yardage, he's overemphasizing to our offensive line, our tight ends, that it's a mentality. I think it starts with that. It's just understanding that situation. That's leadership in general. On the bench, after I get done talking to him or after Keegan gets done talking to him, it's one of those things where he's got to get up and he's got to go talk to the offense. It might be a message of enthusiasm or encouragement, or it might be something schematic. That's one thing that we continue to work on him with the entire time, and he has that natural ability. I'm saying this not in the fact that he struggles at it. He's elite at it. It's just one thing as you're going through the struggle, you know, that's the one thing that you have to stay true. That was one of our things that we talked about this week as a unit, is staying true to yourself and who you are as a person through the struggle. And that last Saturday night was a struggle. And I think that's where our team grew, and hopefully that works out as we play in the weeks to come. You know, and we showed a lot of those clips of things, guys, when we did things well. You know, I look at that game where with Ohio State as we didn't turn the ball over, okay? We had a few plays of our explosive nature, and we played clean football. We had a couple things in the first half where on the silent count where Drake has to learn that the shot clock is at a different time when you're in a silent count. So we had to burn 2 timeouts in the first half. That's on the quarterback. That's on myself. And I think that's one thing that we continue to learn. We have to look at that experience regardless of the result and what we learned so we don't turn one loss into a second loss. We can expand on that and take that loss that we learned from a ton and turn it into wins after wins after wins if that's what our team wants to do.
Greg, looking at Purdue, they stunt a lot occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
Blitz. They started in a zone and kind
Yep.
of got beat in the seams and went to a man-to-man.
Mhm.
What have you seen from them?
So they've done multiple different things. When they played Illinois and when they played USC, they played a little bit of what we would call a 3-down nickel. So they put multiple DBs out there. They're 3-down front. They've kind of gone in between where it's okay. They can sub in and out of a 4-down front and a 3-down front, and they like to play. They like to play some zone defense, but they also have the ability to play man. I think that it's one of those games where it goes back to even with Ohio State. Ohio State was one of those things where you go in and out of things, and you have to be prepared for it. You have to have a game plan for a certain type of front, 4-down front, and then the quarterback has to, when he goes through his progressions, it's truly, okay, you're starting off with this one defender. On 3rd down, you're starting off with this one defender. And we have to be able to figure that out. And, I like where we're at this week with how we executed yesterday and then how we got off the field today. Like, I think it's clean. I like the way the guys practiced. And I think you make a great point where you said it. It's understanding, okay, what can they do out of these particular fronts, and then what can they do out of these particular coverage structures, and then how do we attack it and how can we execute it.
We saw you shuffle things on the offensive line for the first time. What went into that decision with Callahan and play?
You already asked it. It's pretty obvious we got to run the ball better, So I think that's our job as coaches, is to continue to put the guys in the best position possible to succeed. If we want to continue to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result, that's insanity. And that's what we want to continue to do, is shuffle things up, see what's going on, see how they react, see how they execute in those particular positions, and the guys have to be willing to be able to do that. That's part of college football. Not everything's going to be perfect. I look at shuffling the offensive line as just adjusting a scheme. You guys just notice it because it's a different person out there. You might not notice the particular scheme that we adjust. We might be doing something a little bit different on our outside zone. Nobody would know that because we struggled at one other thing. Not saying we did that, but I'm saying that's the exact same thing. It's just we put a different person in a different spot. We want to get the most out of our players and make sure that those 5 are working as a cohesive unit, and we're going to continue to work through that. That's part of our job as coaches, to put our players in the best position to succeed.
It's one of the most difficult things for an offensive coordinator. You want to run the ball. It's Big Ten football. It's all those things. And now it's 2nd and 8. And you think Brockington for 5 yards is there, but you want to run the football. And you have to make that decision and stay committed to. Is that one of the things that's the most difficult? Because you pound the rock.
Yeah.
But the only thing we're getting right now is on the edge.
Yep. I couldn't agree more with how you asked it. It's one of those things, like I said, when I came out of the halftime against Rutgers, I made that decision where we were going to throw the ball, and I was going to use Drake as an extension of the run game. Sometimes games are going to be like that. It's funny, you look at the first drive of the Ohio State game, they did a really good job of, they showed us exactly what they were doing on tape for the most part. We had a very good game plan, went right down the field. And then one of the things you go to is, like, we have to be able to run the ball in certain situations, because if teams are going to start to adjust and they are going to start to play us in particular coverages to take certain things away, we have to be able to adjust too. We just couldn't. And I think that's the one thing that I have to continue to progress as an offensive coordinator and understand, okay, what can I do to continue to put the players in best positions to succeed? I keep saying that because that's what a coach is. Like, we have to do that, whether it's personnel, whether it's coaching, whether it's scheme. And I can't sit there and I have to get a feel for how the offensive line's coming off the ball, how the running backs are running it, how the tight ends are handling the defensive ends, how they're seeing things. Are they moving the front a bunch? Are they doing this? Do I have to get to quick game? Do I have to throw 4 verts? Like, it's one of those things where it's kind of me be working in cohesion with Drake and him understanding why we're doing this. Okay, why are we throwing the quick game? We're throwing the quick game to maybe get back on track on 2nd and schedule. Maybe we're attempting to stay on schedule on 1st and 10. It might be 3rd and 3 where I use a 1st and 2nd down call based off of how that's working and what we're getting from a coverage structure or a front structure on 1st and 2nd down. So it's one of those things where it really comes down to me and feeling how the game is going, understanding what's going to do, because I want to win just like everybody else, and we want to put our guys in a position to succeed. And if I can do that and I can adjust quickly, we'll be in a good spot.
You said Darius Taylor returned, get some touches in the first half. How have you seen him respond to that Ohio State?
Really good. It's been a process with him since the Northwestern State game. I mean, I wish sometimes people could see how hard these guys work when they're not out on the field, and the dedication to getting back onto the field as fast as possible with him. He's had his battles, he's had his ups and downs, but I've never seen the kid waver on when he is banged up, when he's hurt. I mean, he's in there with Sip and Joe, all the time. And I walk down there and he's constantly working on it. It might not even be what he injured. He's just always in there. And he understands that, at an older age, and his experience that he has to constantly work on his body. And I sent him on the side a couple weeks ago working. He was building up his speed. He was doing all that type of stuff. He was catching balls. He was in the meeting room all the time with the backs, coaching with Coach Everett. And again, it goes back to what I was talking about Drake with leadership. That's his way of being a leader. Like, he's been doing everything that we ask him to do above and beyond to get back on the field. And that was the whole plan. Like, we love the fact that we could get him out there last week because then we can continue to put stuff on him and involve him even more in the game plan.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
He was running back, I think it was 250 yards after contact, obviously missed tackles. Has been a theme for you guys. What's this combination going to be?
Yeah, he's a very good running back, runs extremely hard, hurdles people. You know, he's a hurdle champion in high school, has had a lot of success against our defense in the past as well. So it will be a challenge. We got to continue to swarm, got to continue to do well in the circuit like we're doing. But again, like I think Phil Jackson said it best when he was coaching was, you're only successful at the point you make the successful act, right? Something along the lines of that, right? And I think early on we had success tackling, right? And now we're going through a little bit of a hard patch there. We've got to just continue to get better, to trust it, and they will. And I can't wait to see the defense respond there.
No team drops back to pass more than Purdue in the Big Ten. What makes them so prolific?
Yeah, it starts with their quarterback. You know, their quarterback shows to be the heart and soul of that team. He's a gritty player. He wants to extend plays, can create the second play, you know, which makes it a challenge. And then, you know, receiver-wise, you know, they have a great core of guys from number 0 to number 2 are their most consistent guys. 13, I think, has one of the most acceleration, you know, in terms of his acceleration is probably one of the fastest guys that we'll see this year, respectively. Their running back does a great job at getting out and slip screens and things like that. So their pass game is very challenging, and I'm excited for that challenge.
How would you assess where your rush is right now?
The rush end or the rush?
Pass rush.
Pass rush, yeah. We just got to continue to work together, right? You know, going into the last game, obviously we didn't have the success we wanted in this game. You know, we swallowed that pill. We looked at the tape. There's opportunity for that. Give out Ohio State a lot of credit. They're a tremendous team, but we got to get to the quarterback. I think we have a great plan this week. Those guys are really bought into the plan. I'm excited to see them execute that plan.
What do you feel you need to do to get more takeaways? Is there any secret there?
Again, I think the opportunities there. I mean, you look at the Rutgers game, and we had a lot of, you know, hands on the football. We just got to come down with it. You know, Ohio State, you see, you know, Coy had an opportunity there. There was an opportunity on a scramble drill. We just got to come down with those and make those when the play presents itself. Again, it's not about going out there and looking for those plays and looking for those takeaways. It's going out and executing once that ball is in the air, or we have the opportunity to get a sack, fumble, get the ball on the ground with our punch tackles, things like that. We got to continue to swarm, and we'll create takeaways. I'm very confident in that.
You're very old at defensive tackle, but if those guys are going to start to take it up a notch, what has to happen?
Well, I think they just got to continue to play with confidence. You know, they got to play with confidence, and then we got to make sure that we keep getting more and more guys in there, keeping people fresh, keeping the defense fresh, and then getting off the field on third down, you know, is a huge help for that. Not getting into, you know, last week we were in way too many 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, you know, and that hurts the defense. You know, if we can get off the field, give ourselves an opportunity to get fresh, get those guys rolling. Yeah, I think he's just another guy. He comes to work every single day. He's really urgent right now with what he has to do. He's great mentally. He picks up the guys in practice. He has a voice in that defensive line room. Just got to continue to see him. I say it every week, but continue to take the next step in his development, because he's a great player and he is taking that next step. We just got to keep him going, keep him going, keep him going. I know he will.
Now into this, your first year as a defensive play caller every week, do you feel like you're in a rhythm? Has anything surprised you about that responsibility? I know you felt comfortable, you know, from the get-go, but...
Yeah, I think, you know, in anything in life, right, you're always learning, right? So every single game, there's things that I'm learning, right? What could I have called better? What could I have done better in terms of the prep, with the call, with the personnel of what we're doing in that package, right? So there's always things. Every single game, the first thing I do is I look at me, right? And I look at what could I have done to be better, right? And I list that thing out, right? And every single game, now I have a full, you know, couple pages on what I can do better. And then when that moment presents itself, then just like we say with our players, now we got to perform within that moment. So, nothing in terms of like true surprising, just more continuing to get better. And I have a great defensive staff to help with that. We have great players that respond to everything. And then Coach Fleck, obviously, with his leadership of what I can do to be better every single day too, it has helped me along the way get to where I'm at, and I'm excited to continue to grow.
What challenge does new coaching staff at Purdue present versus what you've seen in the past?
Yeah, it's a very similar to offense to the USC offense that we played last year. With Coach being there, the offensive coordinator being at USC. So there's similarities there. In terms of the run game stuff and the pass game. But the challenge is you only got a sample size of games. Now we do have a good handful. 5 games to go off of that data. So we feel confident in that and ready for the challenge ahead.
Because of the end of the Rutgers game, PJ talked about how the staff mentioned the crowd noise. How did you see that play out?
Absolutely love our crowd. Our crowd had a major factor in that game, and we need that when we play at home. That's an advantage for us, right? And that's what we want. We want to create that atmosphere on defense, to get that crowd going, right? To help us out on defense, to make they're a part of us. Right, they're a part of that defense, and I know the guys love it. The guys feed off that energy as well. They were huge in that moment, and I can't thank our crowd enough. That is tremendous. We need to keep having that. Their support has been awesome ever since we've been here.
Do you think Carter Menz has started to figure it out more since Big Ten plays got?
I think Carter Menz had his best game versus Ohio State, and I know that the score may not have looked the prettiest, but I know this. I know we got better. I know we got better at defense, and as crazy as that sounds, there's a lot of guys on that film that got better, and he's probably the number one guy in terms of probably had his best game he's played here. I'm super excited for him to take that next step. He's stepping into exactly what he needs to become here.
You've seen Carmel play about 50 defensive snaps. How do you look at this season so far?
Yeah, he's a guy that we got to continue to get on the field. I think the same way, he went in at a couple plays versus Ohio State, and he don't look like a freshman, when he goes in there, right? He's fearless. He understands what to do. We got to keep getting more on his plate and getting him out there in situations where he can go have success.
Anything else for Coach Collins?
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.